Hey guys, Will here, welcome back to the channel. Now in today's video we are moving on to starting on some of the case modding. We're not doing any drilling or cutting or anything of the case just yet because there's still a few things that I need to suss out before we get into that. But what we're going to do today is we're going to create the Plexiglass or Perspex little shroud that's going to sit around this area to make it all nice and clean. So what I've done, and I didn't record doing this simply because it was a lot of stuffing around and it's not really important to actually see how I did it. It's more the result that's important. But what I've done is I've created a cardboard template here with all the measurements, and I'll make these measurements available on the website as well for you once the new website's up and running, and I'll put them in the description for you as well. But basically this is a shroud that's going to go around the bottom here and sit in like that. So it's going to give us a nice black reflective coating for everything to reflect back on, and it's going to block off a lot of this ugly venting and stuff that's not really going to be necessary in this particular build. It's also going to block off the area around the radiator quite nicely, and we'll have a couple of areas cut out in here for pass-throughs for our water cooling system as well. As you know from the last video, the pump is actually going to sit down below, so we've got a couple of EK pass-throughs that we're going to use. I haven't figured out exactly how I'm going to run all the cooling yet, so I'm going to cut those later on. So in this video I'm going to show you how I use the template to cut this big piece of plexiglass. So you can see here I've used a paint marker to mark out all the cuts. We've also got a fold here as well, 90-degree fold. Now I'm not quite sure how the fold's going to go, but we'll do our best at it and see how it comes out. But we're going to be using a Dremel and perhaps a jigsaw as well to cut all this out. So let's get stuck into it. Alright, so we've got our trusty Dremel here. I think I'm going to try and use the Dremel rather than the jigsaw for this, simply because it's a nice straight cut. I can use the wheel to sort of keep straight, and I think I'm likely to get a cleaner cut with the Dremel than I will with the jigsaw. We've got enough Perspex that if I screw it up I can try multiple times to get it right, but I would like to try and use this straight edge here. Now if I was smart I probably would have done this with it the other way around, but that doesn't really matter. So we'll try and get this nice straight edge. So we've got a Dremel cutoff wheel here, and we're going to use a 420 heavy duty cutoff wheel. So we'll use one of these. I think I've still got one spare in here from before, so we'll grab one of those. So what we want to do is just mount the cutting wheel onto our Dremel head without losing the screw. Simple as that. So that's mounted on. Put the tool back in the box so we don't lose it. Alright, safety goggles and gloves on. Now I know it might sound a little bit silly, but the plastic does get very, very, very hot, and it could do serious damage to your eyes and hands if it does get on you. So always safety first. Chuck those on. Chuck on our gloves. Alright, make sure it is in the off position before we plug it in. Good so far. One down. Now this does have a plastic coating on it as well, so don't worry about scratching this up too much. We'll peel that off very last. So we can tidy that edge up with a file afterwards if we need to. That wasn't so bad. So have a quick look at the edge and see how clean it was. That actually got pretty tricky towards that end there. I'm probably going to need to tidy that up a little bit with a file, I think. Just, you can see, because I was fighting the wheel trying to kick back all the time because I was going in this direction rather than that direction, I probably should have gone that way. Now, because I don't have a clean starting point here to come in from an edge, I'm going to start on this side here and then move my way across this way. So we're going to start off here, move it back a little bit to complete that cut, and then go along this way. Now I just need to cut this part out. There we go. Alright, so we're just going to use a really fine little file like this just to clean it up. Now the reason I'm not going to use the sanding wheels on the Dremel is because of the power of the Dremel, it's very easy to accidentally make a divot and end up with a rounded edge. So we're just going to use the file instead. I'll just get a bigger file onto that bit. There's a part there where I screwed up pretty badly, so I'm just going to get a bigger file. Coarser file, I should say, to So the next thing we want to do, and this is the part where I'm worried that things might not go quite as I'd planned, but what we need to do now is we need to try and bend this part. Now I don't have a line bender, which is like a wooden base that has a element like a, you can actually make them out of an old hairdryer, but I don't like to fiddle around with electronics like that because it's very, very dangerous. But what you can do, hopefully, is heat this up with a heat gun. Because it's relatively thin, it's only 3mm thick Perspex, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it right up against the edge of the table like this. So we've got a nice hard edge to work with. Clamp it down, heat it up with the heat gun, and then bend it around, and if all goes to plan, we should end up with a nice clean curve. So we'll put our clamp back on. Now ideally you want 2 clamps for this. I only have the 1 unfortunately, but what I'll do is I'll just line it up right along that edge there. I'll put some weight here, heat it up, and then it should pretty much fold flat. So we'll see how we go. So we'll unplug the Dremel. Just trying to get nice even heat right throughout the whole strip here. Never hold it in one place for too long. Now it is already starting to bend a little bit. Set back pretty quickly, but that's a pretty decent bend we've got there now. Make sure that's sitting at 90 degrees. Push all this flat while it's still hot as well. And that is looking pretty good. So we'll let it cool down. Alright, so we've decided on our position for the pass-throughs for the water cooling system. So what this mark is here is a marking that shows the pass-through port on the base plate of the actual case. So there's a really nice position here, and because we're doing a vertical mounted GPU, I think this is going to look really good. So we're going to place the two on either side like that. So what I need to do is just mark the holes to be drilled in the middle. Now we don't need to be super exact because there is a little bit of give in this panel, and I've deliberately made it a size that I can move it around a little bit inside the case to make it fit perfectly. So what we need to do is just drop our marker down on the inside of each one. Now if I'm lucky, the marker will fit through. Yeah, perfect. So I'll mark the dead center of each one of these pass-throughs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with a small pilot hole, and then we'll bore it out to the correct size for the final product. So you might not be able to see what I'm doing here. I'll try to get in a position where you can. So we're just going to go dead center. Straight through. Okay. Make sure once more that we're completely happy with that lining up. Yep, they are spot on. Okay, so what we want to do now is get a bigger drill bit, bore those holes out as much as we can. Now I don't know if I have a drill bit that's going to be wide enough for this, so we might end up having to use a circular file to make them the right size, or going out and buying a drill bit. I'm trying to avoid buying parts as much as I can, but if we need them, we need them. So we'll go to a 5mm for now. Just check that it's not shearing on that side. No, that's fine. Okay. Go bigger again. Now it does tend to bite the plastic a bit, and it is very, very easy to split it. So you just need to be really careful that you don't push down. Just let the drill do the work. This looks like it should do the trick. So now it's just a matter of filing the holes out until they're big enough. So alright, so nice. It looks really good. There's not too many. There's a few little ripples there where the material got hot, but not too bad. So we'll do the underside as well. Try my best to keep fingerprints off it. All right, so looking pretty good. It's going to need a clean once we're finished, but we'll drop these ports in. One. Give it a bit of a blowout too on the bottom. There we go. Done. So with a little bit of luck, this will fit inside the case. All right, so moment of truth. Try to do this really carefully without scratching anything. Look at that, it works. Ha-ha! So because it's got a little bit of a warp to it, it's not perfect, but once we stick it down with some double-sided tape, that is going to look awesome. So I'll just give it a quick dust off. Oh yeah. Ha ha ha, nice! One thing is it does really show the dust a lot. Even though I just wiped it, it looks filthy again, but you get the idea. That's going to look really, really cool. So that's a pass-through port's done. Okay guys, so that is the base plate all built. I'm really stoked with how that turned out. I was sort of winging it a little bit as I went along there, but it's come out absolutely perfect. So we'll stick it down a little bit later. As you can see now, I've pulled it back out of the case because I don't want to get it damaged when we're doing the next part of the build. So the next thing we're going to do is set this aside. Next thing we're going to be doing is doing a vertical GPU mount, as well as drilling our holes and building our mounts for our reservoir. Now things are very, very tight inside the case with the reservoir and the graphics card, because it is a very, very long graphics card, so there's not a whole lot of space in there to work with, but I think I've got it all figured out now. But the next thing we're going to be doing is mounting this Cooler Master GPU, or vertical GPU mount. So it mounts in over the top of our PCI slots there, but there's a couple of things we need to do with the case to actually get this to install cleanly. So stick around, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next one where we'll be handling this thing. Make sure you hit that notification bell as well so you do not miss out on the updates. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.